Hello friends, welcome to my video. Today I am going to talk about a very basic concept but very important one. It's enum in C Sharp. We'll learn what enum in C Sharp are and how to define and access it in a program. We'll also see its rules and limitation along with its advantages. And finally, we will discuss about its best practices. So before we get started, just a quick reminder to subscribe my channel, hit the red button and don't forget to click on the little bell icon. That way you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, without any further delay, let's get started. What is enums in C Sharp? An enumeration type, which is also known as enum type, is a value type defined by set of named constant of the underlying integral numeric type. It is defined by the enum keyword and it has members that are comma separated. Okay, let's understand it with the help of examples. So here I have written enum keyword and then I gave name to it as department and I wrote opening and closing curly braces, and in between I wrote IT, finance, sales, HR, marketing as enum members, and those are comma separated, and that's the way how we write enum in C Sharp. Now we have seen how to define enum. Now next question would be how we can access enum members. It's very simple. We just need to access its member using the dot operator. So we write enum name dot enum member name. Let's see examples over here. Here I have written department obj is equal to department dot finance, and whatever enum value that we are going to get it, that we are printing into this console window, and that's what we are able to see the output as a finance. Okay, so by default, the first member of enum has the value 0. The second has the value 1 and it will be in increment order. So it will go like IT will be 0, finance will be 1, sales will be 2, HR is equal to 3, marketing is equal to 4. So if you see the left hand enum department where we have not mentioned any value to it, right? For the IT we have not given value, finance also, sales, HR, marketing. But it is equivalent to right hand side enum department where it will initialize IT as a 0 and then it will be going in the incremented fashion. So finance will be 1, sales is equal to 2, HR is equal to 3, marketing is equal to 4. So left hand and right side is the equivalent one. Let's suppose there is a need to explicitly convert the enum members to an end for getting the integral value from a member. How we can do that? We need to write it like department.it and then we need to do the casting. So here we are going to put int so that it will give the integral value to it. That's what we are storing into the int value 1, and we are printing into this console window using console.writeLine statement, and if you see the output is equal to, it is coming as a 0. Similarly, if you want to fetch the value of finance, then we need to explicitly cast the department.finance to int and then we will be getting the int value and then we are going to print into this console window. And if you see the output is coming as 1. So that's the way how we are going to get the integral value from a member. Okay, now we will see some more variation in enum definition. So let's see our first examples over here. Here we are assigning a value to enum member and finance is the only enum member where I assign value 5 to it. So as per rule, enum first member, which is IT in our examples, would be initialized as 0 because we have not assigned any value to it. So next enum member finance that has value 5, as we have explicitly assigned to it, from its next member onwards, enum value would be automatically incremented by 1. And that's why we are able to see sales is equal to 6, HR is equal to 7, marketing is equal to 8. So if you write enum as shown left one, it would be equivalent to the right one. And that's what I wrote equal sign to it, just for the depicting purpose. Okay, now see another variation where I assigned values to all enum members. Like IT is equal to 10, finance is equal to 15, sales is equal to 25, HR is equal to 28, and marketing is equal to 30. So all members of enum has value. So please keep in mind all enum member values should be unique, and that's what I have given 10, 15, 25, 28, 30. We could also use an enum colon type, which means it uses the type as the underlying storage type. By default, type is the int only for the enum. For examples over here, there is a department enum and I have written colon byte. What does it mean is that underlying storage type of this enum is byte over here. By default, it is the int, but we have explicitly mentioned underlying storage type over here is byte. That's what the byte would be applicable over here. This type could be any numeric data type like byte, sbyte, usort, ussort, int, uint, long, ulong. So out of these, one would be applicable for this underlying storage type. Okay, so here we are on Visual Studio. I have written one console application in program.cs file. I have defined enum department where enum member is IT, finance, sales, HR and marketing. And how we are going to access it in class program where we have main method, which is an entry point of this application, where I have written department.it, and then we are storing into the department object obj1, and then whatever the object value that we have received, I'm just printing into this console.writeLine statement. So obj1 I have passed as a parameter so that it will be printed into this console. Similarly, I have written department.finance, department.sales, department.hr, department.marketing. So all those values that we are capturing in the object and printing into this console. Okay, let me execute this and see the output. Okay, so output got appear into this console window where we are seeing the value IT, finance, sales, HR, marketing. It got printed because we have accessed in a member using the dot operator. That's what we are able to see: IT, finance, sales, HR. So here we are going to see how we can fetch integral numeric value for each enum member. For that, we will have to explicitly cast to int. That's what we are going to see into in these examples. So here there is an enum department where we have this IT, finance, sales, HR and marketing. There is no value explicitly assigned to it. But we just want to fetch what is the integral numeric value for these enum member. So for that we are going to explicitly cast to int. So that's what I have written department.it int. So whatever the value that we are receiving, we are storing into this int value 1 and we are printing into the console window using this console.writeLine statement. Similarly for the department.finance, department.sales, department.hr, department.marketing, we are converting, we are explicitly casting to the int so that we'll be getting the integral value and that we are receiving into this variable and printing into this console window. So we are doing for all these 5 members. Okay, let me execute this and see the output. Okay, so output got appear into this console window. So as per rule, if you are not providing any value to the inner members, compiler will automatically assign the first value as a 0 and then next element will be incremented by 1, and that's what we are able to see: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 value to this console window that was printed by this console.writeLine statement. Okay, now let me put the finance value to 5. Okay, so the first value will be assigned by the compiler for the IT member will be 0, and finance, because we have already explicitly given the value to it 5, so it will be 5 only, and the next element onwards it will be incremented order. 5 plus 1 is equal to 6, HR 5 plus 1 is equal to 7, 5 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to marketing, which is nothing but the 8, and that value should get printed into this console window because we are casting and printing into this console window. Okay, let me execute this and see the output. Okay, as we discussed, the first value assigned by the compiler, which is nothing but the 0, 5 because we have already assigned finance to it, so it will be there 5 because other members we have not assigned after that, so that compiler will take the value, this finance value, and then will increment by 1, so this will become 6. Then it will take this 6 value, increment by 1, it will become 7. Similarly, it will take 7 value and add with 1, and then it will become as a 8, and that's what all these elements integral value got printed into this console window, and that's what they expected out. We can also explicitly assign to all enum member to some integral value. For examples, I am giving the value for the IT is equal to 1, finance is equal to 5, sales is equal to, let's say, 10, HR let's say is equal to 15, and marketing let's say is equal to, so here marketing is equal to 20. So we have explicitly mentioned all these members value to some integral number, and please note that whatever the value that we are assigning to this as a number, it should be unique, right? That is the one thing we need to keep in mind whenever we are assigning some value. Once we have defined this department enum with values and also assigned some integral value to it, we can fetch it using the department.it, and then we can explicitly cast to int. So it will be giving the int value that we are storing into int value 1, and then we are printing this int value 1 using this console.writeLine statement, and we are doing for each and every enum member. For example, department.finance, department.HR department. Okay, let me execute this and see the output. Okay, so output got appear into this console window. So whatever the value I have assigned for each and every enum member, that value got printed when we are accessing and explicitly casting and printing into this console window. So this output got appear into this console. If you see this department, its underlying storage type is int, but we can change it. How we can change it? We just need to write colon over here and then write, let's say I just want to store that these enums into the byte storage location. So I just mentioned byte over here. So it will be stored into the byte and all those things remain same only. But underlying storage type now, instead of int, here will be the byte. That's it. See and execute this, the output would remain same only. Okay, if you see the output, it remains same. Methods of enum in C sharp. There are multiple methods available for enums. Some of the methods I have listed here that are commonly used. These methods are get names, get name, get type, get underlying type, equals, compare to, parse. Get names. It returns an array of the values of all the constants of the specified enum. So basically we will have to provide which enum members values we want to fetch it. So enum name we need to provide it. Get name, here we need to provide two things. The first one is the enum name and also which member value we want to fetch its name. So these two things we need to provide it, then it will return the name of the constant of the specified value of the specified enum. Get type, the type of the current instance. Get underlying type, the underlying type of the specified enum. So basically we will have to tell us which enum and which value we want to get it for the its underlying type. So these two things we need to pass it over here and then it will tell us what is the underlying type of that particular member of this enum. Okay, then equals method is there. It basically help us to check whether two enums are equal or not. Compare to, it help us to compare enum members. Parse it to convert strings to enum values. So these are the methods, are the important ones. We will see all those things in action in Visual Studio. Okay, so here we are on Visual Studio. We have department enum where we have the enum member IT, finance, sales, HR, marketing, and also the integer value associated with these members. Okay, now there is a class program. Inside there is a main method in which I am going to use methods of enum. So first we are going to use the get names method. So here I have just written console.writeline enum department members fetching using get names type of department method. How we are going to use it? We need to use it into the for each loop. Here we have written for each string str enum dot get names type of department and then console.writeline str and then console.writeline. So basically we are fetching names and printing into this console. So that is the use of get name methods. We will be getting names one by one and then we are printing into this console window. Second, we are going to use this get name method where we need to pass this department enum and then we need to mention which value assigned to particular member and we want to fetch those member name. So that's what we have to use enum.getName type of department and I have passed the value of 5. So 5 here basically for the finance. So ideally it should get printed to the finance enum member name. Okay. Now the third one, checking enum member exists using enum is defined method. Basically we are going to see the is defined method demo over here. So first console.writeline statement enum member whose value is 5 exists or not, that we are going to check using this is defined method. So basically inside that we have calling enum.isDefined and we are passing department as in enum and we are passing value as a 5 and we will be verifying whether this 5 value is associated with any member or not. So ideally it will give us true or false value. So here 5 we are seeing that it is already defined, so ideally it should give us the value as a true. And next statement in console.writeline statement I have written 6 value, but if you see this department enum we don't have any value assigned 6 to any of the members. So ideally if we are going to use this is defined method and we are verifying whether this 6 value exists or not, so ideally it does not exist, so it will give us the value as false. Now we are going to see the demo for the get type and the get underlying type. Inside that, what we are going to do, department.id, department.finance, department.hr, department.marketing. So we have taken these things into the enum arrays and assigned the value to the values variable. And then for each loop, we are writing where enum value in values. So it will be taking one by one, and then we are calling inside display method. What is display method? In display method, it is basically a static method that accepts enum as an input parameter. And once we are going to get enum as an input parameter, we are verifying the current type. So we are writing e.getType method. So it will basically give us the type, which type that we are dealing with currently. Okay. Now, whatever the type we have stored over there, we are just putting type.name into this console.writeLine state, so that it will get printed into this console window. Next, we have received this type, right? And then we wanted to know the underlying types. For that, we are using enum.getUnderlyingType method, in which we are passing type as an input parameter. So it will give us the underlying type. And the same underlying type we are printing into this console window, utype.name. So name of that particular type will get printed into this console window. So here we have used get names, get name is defined, get type and get underlying type method. Okay, let me execute this and see the output. Okay, so output got appear into this console window. You see here, this is the first statement. Enum department members fetching using get names type of department method, right? So it is printing one by one, IT, finance, sales, HR, marketing, and we have used get names method. It got printed everything. Second one, we are using get name method, where we have passed the value as 5. So 5, if you see here in department, 5 value associated with the finance member. So that's what enum member got printed as a finance. So the third one, we are checking enum member exists using enum member enum is defined method. Basically, we have passed 5. We are verifying whether this 5 value is associated with any member or not of this particular enum department. So here 5 exist with exist and it assigned with finance member. So it is giving us the output as true. In the next statement, we are checking 6 value which is associated with any member or not. If you see the department over here, 6 is not associated with any member. So that's what it is giving us the false. So enum.isDefined method works over here. It verifies whether that particular value associated with particular member or not. Based on that, it just give us the value as true and false, and that's what it is getting printed over here, true and false value. Next, we are seeing the demo of the get type and the get underlying type method. If you see here, the first type, because we have used this get type, so type we are getting as a department and underlying type is the int32. As we mentioned, we have not mentioned any customized underlying storage type explicitly. So ideally by default it will be taking int32. That's what it got printed, underlying type int32. So all those got printed, and that's what we wanted to show as a part of this demo, where we have explicitly given demo how we are going to use the methods that is available for the in C Sharp. Rules, limitations and advantages of enum in C Sharp. So here we are going to see some rules and limitations associated with enum, and also we will look into that advantages of enum in C Sharp. So rules and limitation. The first rule says enum is a type, not a variable or method or constant. Enum named constant must be unique and cannot be duplicated. The third one, underlying type of enum cannot be char or a string, can be of any numeric data type such as byte, sbyte, sort, int, uint, long or ulong. The default underlying type of enum is an integer. Let's suppose if we don't provide any underlying type explicitly, then it will be considered as an integer value. That's what the rule says. Now we will look into the advantage of enums in C Sharp. It provides an efficient way to assign multiple constant integral values to a single variable, right? Code more readable, reliable, and easier to understand, because we are not going to define the constant value here and there. We are consolidating multiple constant integrator value to a single variable. It makes more readable, reliable, and easier to understand. The third one reduces errors caused by transposing or mistyping them. Let's suppose if you are not using enum, then we will have to use some numbers associated with particular constant. So there is a possibility to mistype those numbers and it will prone to errors. So if you are going to use enum, then it will reduce errors, which is usually caused by the transposing or mistyping. It is easier for maintenance. So these are the advantages of enums in C Sharp. Best practices of enum in C Sharp. So here we are going to talk about some best practices related to enum in C Sharp. So if any of the enumeration members does not have a value of 0, consider creating a non-enumerated constant. That's what in this example I have added none is equal to 0 in this enum department. Why? Because by default the memory used for enumeration is initialized to 0 by the CLR. Consequently, if we do not define a constant whose value is 0, the enumeration will contain an illegal value when it is created. To avoid illegal value, we need to consider creating a non-enumerated constant. Second, don't cast integer values into enums. Use enums as they were meant to be used. For examples, if you write department type is equal to department and then 15 just for the finance, so it's not a correct way of writing. So basically, it is not recommended to cast integer over here. So that's what I have just mentioned. It's wrong. Okay, the correct way of writing department.finance for getting the constant value of finance. Department type is equal to department.finance, and that is the correct way of writing. That's the way how enums mean to be used. The third one, if there is a need to update an enum, add more values to the end of it so that a new member is added without affecting the existing one. Let's suppose this is the department enum, right? If you want to add some more department, we need to write it at the end and give the value associated with it so that this number won't get affected. These are the best practices associated with the enum. Now that brings me to end of my session. To sum up, in this video we saw what enums in C# are and how we can define and access it in a program. We also saw some variation in enum definitions. Then we talked about some important built-in methods of enums with examples. After that, we saw rules, limitation and advantages associated with it. Finally, we discussed about enum best practices. That's all for this video, guys. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends and colleagues, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already. Thanks for watching. See you next video.